The stanza reads, I know that I hang on a wide tree 9 long nights, wounded with the spear dedicated to Odin, myself to myself, on that tree of which no man knows from where its roots run. In the stanza that follows, Odin describes how he had no food nor drink there, that he peered downward, and that I took up the runes, screaming I took them. Then I fell from there. Odin later used the knowledge of the sacred runes as a magical tool to give to humanity to increase human skills in magic and poetry. While Yggdrasil is not mentioned by name in the poem and other trees exist in Norse mythology, the tree is nearly universally accepted as Yggdrasil by scholars. And if the tree is Yggdrasil, then the name Yggdrasil directly relates to this story. Now, I can go on and read more of that, but I believe that I should probably go ahead and read something that pertains to the giant who had no heart in his body. So, this is a Norwegian fairy tale. Now, the giant who had no heart in his body is a Norwegian fairy tale collected by Edgerson and Moe. George MacDonald retold it as The Giant's Heart in Adela Cathcart. A version of the tale also appears in a Book of Giants by Ruth Manning Sanders. The king had seven sons, and when the other 6 went off to find brides, he kept the youngest with him because he could not bear to be parted from them all. They were supposed to bring back a bride for him as well, but they found a king with 6 daughters and wooed them, forgetting their brother. But when they returned, they passed too close to a giant's castle, and he turned them all, but both princes and princesses, to stone in a fit of rage. When they did not return, the king, their father, tried to prevent the youngest brother from following, but he went. On the way, he gave food to a starving raven, helped a salmon back into the river, and gave a starving wolf his horse to eat. The wolf let the prince ride on him instead of showing him the giant's castle. The wolf let the prince ride on him instead and showed him the giant's castle, telling him to go inside. The prince was reluctant, fearing the wrath of the giant, but the wolf persuaded the prince to enter the castle, for there he would encounter not the giant, but the princess the giant kept prisoner. The princess was very beautiful, and the prince wanted to know how he could kill the giant and set her and his family free. The princess said that there was no way, as the giant did not keep his heart in his body, and therefore could not be killed. When the giant returned, the princess hid the prince and asked the giant where he kept his heart. He told her it was under the door sill. The prince and the princess dug there the next day and found no heart. The princess strewed flowers over the door sill, and when the giant returned, told him that it was because his heart lay there. The giant admitted it was not there and told her it was in the cupboard. As before, the princess and the prince searched to no avail. Once again, the princess strewed garlands of flowers on the cupboard and told the giant it was because his heart was there. Thereupon the giant revealed to her that, in fact, in a distant lake was an island upon which there sat a church. Within the church was a well where a duck swam. In the duck's nest was an egg, and in the egg was the giant's heart. The prince rode to the lake, and the wolf jumped to the island, and the prince called upon the raven, and he had saved. The prince called upon the raven he had saved from starvation, and it brought him the keys to the church. Once inside, he coaxed the duck to him, but it dropped the egg in the well first, and the prince called on the salmon to get him the egg. The wolf told him to squeeze the egg, and when he did, the giant screamed. The wolf told him to squeeze it again, and the giant promised anything if he would spare his life. The prince told him to change his brothers and their brides back to life, and the giant did so. Then the prince squeezed the egg into two and went home with the princess as his bride, accompanying him where his brothers and their brides and the king rejoice. Now, in a harsher version, the boy split the heart in two and eats it with the wolf, chopping off the giant's head and keeping it as a trophy. For international variants, you can also read The Death of Koski the Deathless. The tale was translated as Cinder Lad and his 6 brothers, and included in the compilation Fairy Stories for Children, Love Best of All. The Hungarian variant of the tale was adapted into an episode of the Hungarian television show Magyar Mesek, the Hungarian Folk Tales, who, with the title Kazuzu Ember, the man with a heart of stone. In this version, 3 brothers depart home and arrive at a cottage where an old man lets them spend the night. When they leave the next day, the old man asks them to find him a bride. The brothers go to a kingdom and marry 3 princesses. On their way back, the couples pass by an old man's cottage. He petrifies 5 of them and takes the youngest princess for his wife. He reveals to her his heart is located inside a bird inside a mountain far away. Years later, a boy is born to the mother of the brothers and leaves home to find their whereabouts. On his way, he shares his food with a ram and a dove, which in return give him a hair and feather to summon the animals should the boy need. The story was retold by John Hurt as an episode of Jim Henson's The Storyteller. It takes a sadder tone as the prince befriends the giant after freeing him from years of captivity in his father's castle, and after journeying to the mountain to get the egg and eventually releasing his brothers, beseeches them not to break the egg containing the giant's heart, as he promised now to be good. The brothers break the heart, and the hill forms where the giant falls. So, let me see. I think that would be just enough to cover what I wanted to go over with this. I did want to get more involved in it, but like I said, this was kind of off the cuff. I really wanted to get into this on some other in some other areas and everything. Um, you know what I mean? So I I apologize for that. Maybe sometime later I can revisit this and everything. But I just find this interesting. This has a lot of Jack and Beanstalk. You know, it's very good stuff, and I figured it would be worth checking out and kind of getting into. I also want to get more into the stories when it comes to Odin and things of that nature, the Nordic mythologies. But mostly I do want to get into the Indo-European language and explore that more. So, okay, the term is not a commonly recognized phrase in literature, science, or general usage. However, it could refer to the decay or decomposition of water-based organic materials, often resulting in the breakdown of compounds into simpler substances, accompanied by foul odors or a change in appearance. Phrase putrescent of water compound might be used symbolically to describe the transformation or degradation of materials in a philosophical or metaphysical sense. It could appear in Gothic horror or macabre writing to invoke vivid imagery of decay and rot involving liquids. While not common, it might relate to processes like petrification, where organic matter decomposes, often in water-rich environments. In alchemical and mystical texts, particularly those influenced by Greek mythology and ancient cosmogonies, the putrescence of water compound could symbolically relate to the primordial chaos or the formless state of existence before creation. This concept often connects to the mythological ideas of Mot or mud, representing the primordial waters of creation, or the raw material from which life emerges. In Greek mythology, creation begins with chaos, a vast formless void that contains the potential for all existence. Chaos is sometimes associated with a watery or fluid state, symbolizing the unformed matter. From this chaos emerges Gaia, which is earth, then Tartarus, which is the underworld, and Eros, which is desire, leading to the ordered cosmos. In alchemy, putrescence, which is decay, is a necessary step in the transmutation process. It signifies the breaking down of existing structures to give way to new life or a purified state. This idea aligns with the mythological concept of creation arising from formless, decaying matter, like Mot in Phoenician mythology. Mot, sometimes referred to as Muth in Ugaritic texts, originates from Phoenician and Canaanite mythology, but it shares symbolic ties with Greek and other ancient creation myths. Mot is associated as the god of death